Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. No matter where you're watching us from around the globe, I say thank you for allowing us into your homes, but most importantly, into your hearts. If you're watching us on the DBNA television network this morning, a sincere thank you, and please continue to support the network sponsors, and the other amazing talent here on the network. If you're listening to us in podcast form today, TP and I say turn that knob up and let us put that flavor in your ear. That's right. You're about to be coached up once again with another edition of the Coach Scott Field Show. So without further ado, let's lace them up. Pleased, honored, and humbled to have our guest. He's a return guest to the Coach Scott Field Show. This is a longtime friend, Terry Porter, NAIA All American, two-time NBA All-Star, 17-year NBA player, 24th overall draft pick by the Portland Trailblazers. I could go on and on with all these accolades. Married to Susie, father to Brianna, Franklin, and Malcolm. Terry Porter, how are you, buddy?
I'm doing great, man. I'm doing great. Honored to be with you this morning.
Oh, hey, trust me, the pleasure is all mine, and glad to have you on. Hey, how's the golf game coming?
Golf game is coming. It's a work in progress, like always. You know, some days are highs and then you get back to the lows, but I'm enjoying it. It's a great challenge. It gives me that competitive juice and give me a chance to get back out and kind of act like I'm on the court, but I'm on a course, and I get a chance to talk a little smack and have a little fun and a little camaraderie and fellowship with close friends.
Oh, see, I love that. Hey, I understand anything to get those endorphins going and get that adrenaline pumping. It's like it's part of our DNA as competitors, correct?
No question. You gotta have it.
You and I were joking off camera here right before we started. You just came back from work, and I was like, man, you look like you're in such great shape. You could get another 12 to 15 minutes in a game right now.
Well, I believe that exercise is important for longevity in life. And, I've just tried to make sure that I stay on top of it. Obviously, I'm never going to be to the body I once had, but I gotta preserve the body I got. That's for sure.
That's right. Hey, got to maintain and slow down the aging process because
exactly. Fight Father Time. Although he's undefeated, you still got to try to fight it as much as you can.
That's right. I love it, man. Terry, you've had just a phenomenal career. I mean, you think 17 years. I mean, Wisconsin, Stephen Point, and NAIA All American. You had just an amazing journey, and I want our viewers and listeners to know, what it takes, what kind of mindset to compete at that high level for that many years and to take care of your body. You're still taking care of your body. I mean, it becomes a lifestyle. Over 15,586 career points scored. Again, I could go on and on, but, you also being a coach, when I say Coach Dick Bennett, what does that name mean to TP?
Well, I mean, it's just, he started me on that path, right? He started me on that path of believing that I could be the best basketball player I could be, to reach high, but understand what it takes along the journey to try to get there. A lot of hard work, a lot of dedication, never questioning your self skill, never letting anybody else negativity or negative thoughts or them questioning your ability and where you can go to interfere with your everyday approach and your everyday work ethic. And so he taught me so much about just getting ready to work every day, every night, giving it the best you could give when you get on the court, and realizing that defense was probably the most important thing for me personally, for me to reach the goals that I try to, aspire to have. And that's, to this day, he is someone who's very dear to me. We stay in close contact. I talk to him all the time to check in on him. And obviously his son, Tony, is doing very well at the University of Virginia. So yeah, that's a relationship that, he's almost like a second father figure for me. Because I was 18 when I got to campus at Stevens Point, and we spent many times talking in his office about basketball, but about life as well. And he's a very Christian man, and I appreciate that and love that about him. And just taught me a lot about life lessons, not just on the court, but off the court, and how to conduct yourself and how to behave. And So to him, I've owned so much of the person I am and the man I am today because of him and his guidance along the way.
Yeah, see, and I love hearing that. But what I hear most importantly, it's about relationships. I mean, yeah, there's X and O's and there's basketball acumen, but it's about building those authentic relationships and meeting someone and sharing core values with them and leading and guiding and directing. And I know you've done that for many players yourself throughout your career after your playing days as a coach. And I think that's wonderful that you build those bonds with your athletes.
Well, I think again, when you play sports, it's about relationships, and there's multiple relationships. You can go coach to coach, coach to player. There's players to players, and I was blessed this year. I went father to son. The last 5 years, I was blessed to have that relationship in sports, and so those are the type of relationships you get, and it builds an unbelievable foundation for those type of lifelong friendships. I think anybody who's played on a great championship team or who's battled with guys that they really thought just gave it everything they could and sacrificed for the better of the man next to them, they maintain those relationships. As you said, they hang out with each other, they trust each other, they have core values together. And so those things are so critical in sports and so critical in so many levels in regards to those relationships. I think it's something that every kid, every youth should try to experience those type of relationships, because I think in the long term, in regards to have just sustainability, those relationships will be there when it's all said and done, and be there when you need them the most.
That's right. And TP, I look at grassroots basketball right now and a lot of things that I observe at an AAU level. There's so many life lessons and hard skills and soft skills that are not being passed on because players are just jumping from team to team to put the best players together. And I mean, hard work, discipline, dedication. So again, so many of those skills that are so needed in our fabric, in our society, are being missed. Do you agree with that observation?
Yeah, I think one of the things that I really struggle with when both of my boys, as you mentioned, I have a daughter and two boys, two sons. And the most challenging part for me, the way I grew up in youth basketball, was just like you said, just skipping steps, the importance of trying to build a team from hanging out together. With AAU, you get these kids that come from all the different states and they don't get a chance to practice together. They aren't really hanging out together. They're not having meals together. You're not going over each other's house. And so you don't have a chance to really build that type of bond. And I think that's something that's missing when you sometimes go to these big tournaments. You don't see the team and the togetherness that you would normally see in a normal situation. So I think that's something from an AAU standpoint. I wish they could somehow limit the players moving from state to state and really keep the kids. And look, you're good enough, you're good enough. If you're not, you're not. You got to get back in the gym and work. And so I think, like you said, they just try to build these super teams, and that's where it travels on to the NBA.
Right.
They just bounce from state to state, trying to build these super teams to go out to compete on a national level. And I think that's great, but I think there's also something missing, and the importance of just having a team from your neighborhood or from your state that you can go out and you can have a lot of pride in going out and competing and enjoying those experiences as well. And the parents and the kids just have something the fun to talk about and remember about those opportunities that they were given.
Yeah, and see, I'm glad to hear you say that because I echo those sentiments. And like I'm saying, there's so many core values and life lessons that are being missed in that process right now. And to me, I see some of that AAU culture in the NBA game right now, whether it's good or bad. You see that because these guys, with collective bargaining and everything, these players are aligning themselves and putting themselves with 5 or 6 deep, and again, that competitive spirit of trying to beat the other guy is something that's really changed with the rules and everything else in the NBA. I'm wondering if you feel the same.
Yeah, I mean, again, I think that I don't know if it's generational. I think some of it is generational. I mean, again, when I grew up, we didn't have AAU. I didn't get the luxury of traveling, going to Los Angeles, Las Vegas, or going to some of these elite camps where these guys now, they've been around each other, they've been associated with each other, been at events with them since probably 10. And so they're able to build those relationships. Again, it's good or bad. They're able to build those relationships. But Magic and the Birds and none of those guys, and Michael, none of those guys hung out with each other when they were really young in youth basketball. They stood in their states and they played within their states. And so when they got to the NBA level, they didn't have the relationships that the kids have nowadays, because they wasn't able to spend a lot of those times in their youth. So I'm not a big fan of that. I think that you get these super teams, it kind of hurts the rest of the league. And again, every player has their right to go where they want to go. But I think you have to be able to just feel pride in your ability to force the organizations and the GM to go out and get the type of players you need to compete. And, it's like anything. I think if you start getting to these where it's just going to be super teams, then what's the rest of the teams? The smaller markets, they're not going to have the luxury of really trying to recruit and entice those type of superstars. Because those superstars, they want to go to the big cities. They want to go to big cities where you got everything. You got a plethora of things you can do, entertainment when you're not playing or going out or just restaurant options. So it's going to be a challenge, I think, for the league going forward to try to, how they can go about trying to shape just a mindset of not building super teams. And I don't know what they're going to do about it. I don't know if guys are going to just change their own personal philosophy. I just don't think that the league is going to be able to really, curtail that or limit the ability for those guys to move.
Yeah, and I agree. I know for some listeners, our generation, we're on the same wavelength here. But it sounds some younger guys are probably like, oh, they're just a couple follically challenged old heads out there talking basketball with this new generation, and that's okay too. Because again, we grew up with a certain mindset with competing and accepting the challenge and embracing the process for growth and how to evolve through the game, and how to really embrace the process of getting better and spending time in the gym, working on your game, working on your craft, getting physically stronger, and truly competing to beat, the other guy and the other teams.
Yeah, man. Again, I think professional sports, every player should have his right to do what's best for his family, his life, without a doubt. Right. But I think when these guys get to a certain level and they combine after they reach a lot of financial goals, they have a great legacy, and then they just start collaborating with these super teams, it just makes it hard. I think it just as a fan, I love the game. Yeah. I'm not interested in watch a super team play another team and beat them by 30. That doesn't do anything for me. Yeah. That doesn't give me a chance to just get dialed into the game. And so, yes, I love basketball. I watch it, but like any fan, if it gets to the point where it becomes too lopsided, I'm going to lose interest in it. Yeah. I'm going to lose interest in it. And I think that we got to be careful of not building these super teams to the point where, it's going to be 2 or 3 teams every year that's going to have a chance, and all the other teams are just going to be fighting for just respectability, I guess, so to speak, just to get in the playoffs and try to give their fan base and their organization something to cheer for and something to be proud about.
Right. So yeah, and I'm with you, and I look at your journey as a player coming from the NAIA level, and really working hard to get that exposure. You think about probably the 1984 Olympic trials for you, where you were able to go out there and compete against, some great names. Michael Jordan's, Sam Perkins, Chris Mullins, Patrick Ewing, and put yourself on that elite level. What did that experience do for you personally and professionally to get out there and compete from an NAIA level against, the Michael Jordans and the Patrick Ewings?
Well, that opportunity really was my coming out party, so to speak. It was my moment, right? It was 1984. Our team had made it to the NAIA national championship game in Kansas City. And the commissioner, the head of the NAIA at the time, that I learned later, really called, because up to that point, there'd never been an NAIA player even invited to any of the Olympic trials. And so for whatever reason, he felt this was a year that he thought that the NAIA should have representation at the Olympic trials. He called them on a daily basis and required whoever selected committee was, you guys got to honor the NAIA basketball, in regards to having a player invited to the trials and just have us have that moment for our organization, our body of student athletes. And so they did, agree with him. And for whatever reason, he chose me as the one that represented the NAIA. And so I was able to, go there and have an unbelievable experience, but more importantly, perform extremely well, hold my own. And really for me, you play a lower level at the collegiate level. There's always questions about your ability to advance and go to that next level because you didn't play against quote unquote Division I players every night. How would you be able to, once you got into that arena, to maintain your level? Could you step up to that level and still perform and compete at a level that is worthy? And so the Olympic trials throughout that whole time, as you mentioned, some of the great names that were there, provided that opportunity for people. May not know back then, the Olympic trials, a lot of NBA personnel could be at those trials every day. They can watch you go through all the drills. They can watch you compete in a 5-on-5 scrimmage. They can watch you with all these different types of drills that Bobby Knight and his coaching staff had put together. So they had a really good sense on how to evaluate you on one-on-one against certain guys, on how you grasp, plays and just your knowledge of basketball IQ and how you went about preparing yourself every day. So after coming out of that and, making it just one little tidbit to that, I made it all the way and then I got the chicken pox.
Yes.
I got the chicken pox and I had to go back to Stevens Point, try to get as healthy as possible and then come back and compete. And so I was able to do that. And Bobby Knight was unbelievable during that whole experience for me. People have different opinions. They're either hot or cold with Bobby Knight, but he was truly unbelievable during that whole situation. He came to me and said, look, you deserve an opportunity to represent your country. You have given us everything we've asked during this time of this trials. And so I'm gonna allow you to go home, come back and try to, still have a chance to compete. He could have easily said, I'm sorry, son, you did a great job. We can't have you come back and maybe run the risk of getting somebody infected. We're just going to send you home and have somebody else come in. So he was unbelievable in that experience and allowing me to come back. And I didn't make the team, but I got cut with two familiar names that everybody may know, most of your listeners, a guy by the name of Charles Barkley and a guy by the name of John Stockton. So those guys went on to have unbelievable careers, Hall of Fame careers. And I was able to come back and have one more year of collegiate play again, which put me on the radar for most of the NBA scouts and gave me that chance to really be considered for getting drafted back then. And it's been to this day, I think, the most important part of my collegiate experience and my collegiate opportunity that engaged me and allowed me to have that moment where I became, considered an NBA player.
Right. TP, that's just a wonderful story. And I wanted to have a platform to allow you to share that because I think a lot of people didn't know or understand what that process was like for you. I mean, and to come down with the chicken pox, I mean, that's not an easy hill to climb, especially when you're competing at that elite level, which I would consider, a 1 or 2% level with those guys. And then I think too, because of you being that pioneer, and you're too humble to say that you were the MVP of the NAIA tournament, but we're talking about a guy who paved the way and was a trailblazer for Scottie Pippens and Dennis Rodman's later to come from that NAIA level to be able to be considered, as an NBA draftee. So thanks to Terry Porter, that road was now paved and opened up. And, your hard work and dedication and work ethic provided that opportunity.
Well, I think, Scott, it's like anything, right? The league source, they have recruiters, they go out and all of a sudden you have a kid that came from NAIA and perform as well as I did, and then obviously get drafted in the first round. Now they're thinking, okay, there is a way, there is an opportunity there is kids in that NAIA level that is capable of making that transition from the NAIA to the NBA and be productive and be an all-star. And so I think that, again, you have to have someone kind of break the seal and crack that egg, so to speak, to kind of give them an opportunity to just get on their radar. I don't think NAIA was even on their radar. Now it's all of a sudden they're sending scouts out to NAIA tournaments, trying to evaluate players and seeing if they're worthy of getting a stronger look. And so from that standpoint, I'm proud that I was able to, provide those type of avenues for guys who came behind me. And, those guys before me either who did it, and definitely set the trail for us giving those type of opportunities.
Yeah, it's wonderful. Ladies and gentlemen, this is my buddy Terry Porter, who's with us today on the Coach Scott Field Show, sharing his journey. A true man of faith, a man who puts family first, and empowering words here for our viewers and listeners. And I'm just so humbled for his time. Terry, having that career, 17 years, I mean, two-time NBA All-Star in 91 and 93. What did that mean to Terry Porter? And I know you're so humble, but talk about that first time you got to put that NBA jersey across your chest and represent Terry Porter and Stevens Point and, your family and just talk about that pride in that moment of putting on that jersey for the first time.
Well, it was, it was a lot of hard work, and it was obviously, a lot of people around me who helped me along my journey, which is, you honor them really when you put on a jersey. You honor them for all their time and dedication. I mean, I think every kid out there has a mom or a dad that took them to all the practices that they go to. They may have had a coach that maybe took them to a lot of practices or provided meals for them at times or let them sleep over, and then friends that help you along the way, get up early with you and get shots up, or stay late with you and get shots up. Or,
Amen.
And so those are, and obviously guys you play with all the many teams, the guys that challenge you, the guys that push you. So there's been just not just me. Yes, it's me who's out in front, but I've been lifted on so many shoulders and so many people who've helped me along the way on my journey. It's to thank them and for them to have some pride too, that they helped me along my journey. And it's just one of those things that, life, and you go through life, and people have to understand that you go further in life with people as opposed to going alone. I think that's so important to be able to have people that, again, we've talked about it, has the same values, who's going to push you and challenge you and be there to encourage you and be there to pick you up when you have failure. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. So you have to have a strong support base. And when you have those moments of acceleration or just success, you want to celebrate with those people who are there with you. And so whenever I put on that NBA jersey for the first time, the NBA All-Star, my mom, my dad, my siblings, all the guys I play with, that was for them. That's for all their hard work and their support. And that's something that I take a lot of pride of. And I appreciate all the efforts they provided and the opportunity they share with me, but also the hard work I put in individually.
Yeah, I'm a true believer that teamwork makes the dream work. And, if you can surround yourself with a positive support system and people who, are going to challenge you, mentor you, guide you, but yet most importantly, help you hold yourself accountable to achieve greatness, I think that's a wonderful thing. And I love having you share that for people, because when people hear it from different people, someone like yourself, I think it brings more credibility. But just coming from a high character individual like yourself, who his heart is in the right place, it's inspiring and very empowering, Terry.
Thank you, Scott. Appreciate that.
No,
you gotta find along your journey people like you said who are great mentors and people who really care about your well-being.
Yeah. And make sure that you're getting people who aren't going to be just yes people and rah people, and someone who's really going to help you hold yourself accountable, I think is important, because it's awful easy for us to put people on a pedestal, and all of a sudden when things go bad, who's going to help bring that person back up? Because like you say, there's going to be trials, there's going to be tribulations, and there's going to be setbacks in life. And, it's how you choose with that mindset to accept it and again, hold yourself accountable.
Well, I mean, I think everybody who's had any success, that's what makes it feel that much sweeter, right? That much harder, because if you've had those trials and adversities that you were faced, and you didn't let them hold you back, you didn't let them stop you from getting up the next day and still going out and trying to be focused on the dream and the task that you need to do to try to, respond for the adversity or not prove somebody wrong, but just continue to work on your dream and knowing that just because someone said you wasn't going to be able to make that high school team, you still determined to try to get that uniform at the high school level or at the college level or at that scholarship, all those things. And there's been so many stories in life and successful people who've had those type of adversities, and they've all shaken it off and got up the next day and went back to work. And that's something that's so important.
Amen. 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 And I know you, because we've sat and talked at NBA summer leagues and have had conversations. I mean, you're a man of faith as well. How much has that really helped you throughout your career and in your life's journey?
Well, again, I grew up, my family was a Baptist church, my mom and dad. So we went to church on Easter and Christmas, what we did. And so I always had church in my life. I think more so when I met Coach Bennett, I got stronger with it. And my wife was a Catholic. And so we raised our kids that way. And I think it's important to have spiritual in your life. I think it's very important to have that. I think it's helped me as well through some of my adversities, as well as through some of my success. And I just think that, life is, it's so important that you have a spiritual part of your life. It's so important to believe that. And we raise our kids to believe that. And it's been, like I said, it's been a part of my life for as far as back I can remember.
Preach, brother. I love hearing that. So God bless you and continue, because I know God's not done with you yet, brother. I mean, you've got so many great things and how many lives that you have impacted throughout your career and throughout your journey. And again, I know your best work is still yet in front of you, TP. So continue doing what you do and how you do it, brother.
Thank you. I look forward to the next challenge. That's for sure.
That's right. Let's take a trip down memory lane. I'm going to throw some dates out to you. February 5th, 1987 is Terry Porter's first career triple-double. 18 points, 10 rebounds, and 13 assists against the Lakers. Can you remember that night?
I cannot.
Hey, I did my research.
But you know what? Today. I love it because it was against the Lakers, and they were our arch rivals. So they were the king of the mountain. They were the golden standard. So to be able to get a triple-double against those guys, it's just something special. I hope we won the game. Please tell me we won the game.
Yeah,
okay.
You did. Right. you won it by 4.
Okay, all right. A victory's a victory. So I wouldn't have. That makes this triple-double even sweeter to have that happen.
Hey, look at this. I came prepared and I did my research today, brother.
Yeah, I hear you. I don't, triple-doubles, God, back then they were so hard to get because, you had power forwards and centers back then telling you Buck Williams and Jerome Kersey and Duck saying, don't come down here, little boy. Don't be coming down here. These rebounds are all mine. And so I had to kind of be on the perimeter and try to chase those ones down in the corners and things like that. But no, it was I always pride myself being a complete player. And so rebounding was something I had to do a lot in college. And when I got to the pros, it wasn't something that, I just shied away from. I got down in there and was able to get some rebounds and really play the game and play it the right way. I pride myself in being a complete player.
Well, and I'm going to expand on that a little bit because, again, you're so humble. But the game back then, you didn't have the space and pace that you have now. It was more of a half-court grind, which is going to make it even harder. And the rules were different, where you could have hands on guys that now, and of course, like you said, getting into the paint. You get into that paint, you're going to get hit.
You're going to get
hit. That's right. So you think about 1987 getting a triple-double with those guys, with Portland. That's great numbers, because now, like you say, triple doubles are almost a norm, and it's almost like, oh, well, Russell Westbrook has another triple double, whatever. But man, in 1987 to get a triple double in a slow half court game, that's having some productivity right there, brother.
Yeah, that was one of those. That's something we always try to pride ourselves on. And just Clyde was just such a great teammate, and he was amazing at rebounding as well. And so, especially when Duck and Jerome or Buck had a tough night, had a tough guard, and they knew that a Karl Malone or, a Kareem, that we knew they'd be battling with those guys. Okay, you guys just make sure they don't get it. We'll come back and get the rebounds for you. And so it was a lot of fun to be able to contribute and help those guys when they had tough nights.
Yeah, see, and I'm glad you're mentioning your teammates because, you think about some of those teammates, and some of your teammates have already passed on. You talked
Mhm.
about Jerome and his foundation. And matter of fact, I had Brian Grant come on as a
Mhm.
guest and his foundation with Parkinson's now. And I mean, Clyde Drexler. Talk about some of those guys and the impact that some of those players had on you and what you learned from them in that locker room and what you guys shared with each other.
Well, I think the biggest thing is we shared a common goal for wanting to be great together, right? And wanted to go out and try to be the best team we could be. I think we talked about it earlier. You had guys that challenged you and pushed you and held you accountable, right? And so I think when you look at the makeup of a team, and especially a championship caliber team, yes, they have great coaching, but a lot of time they're player coached, right? Those teams, because of the players, and those players hold each other accountable, and they push each other and they challenge each other. And that's what makes them go to that next level. Yes, coaching is important, but you got to have that bond among the players, and the players that are willing to get in each other's face and challenge each other and push them through those tough times. Because when those battles show up and you have those tough playoff situations, you got to have guys you can rely on, you trust. And those situations in the games where there's a rotation that needs to be made or a blockout that needs to be done, that you're going to trust your teammate to make that right play at the right time because of the trust and the confidence you guys have been able to build over the many years together in practice or just hanging out and getting to know each other.
Yeah, see, that great point. Because I've said this many times, because I do believe that coach-driven teams can be great, but player-driven teams at that elite 1% level, that's what it's a must-have, because that peer pressure that you're going to put on your teammate and hold them accountable takes it to a whole nother level, correct?
Yeah, I mean, I think anybody who plays sports, there's nothing like peer pressure. Yes, there's coach pressure, but
Yeah,
there's peer pressure is more important because they're on the battlefields with you. They're right there with you. They can kind of tell if you're giving it your all or you're not giving your all. Sometimes players think they can trick coaches, but you can't trick your teammates.
that's
They're
right.
in that fight with you. They know what it takes and know how hard it needs to be to get something done. And so it's like you said, if it's player driven, those are the elite teams, the dynasty type of teams that can have sustainability and be able to really have a legacy.
Yeah, and see, you being in that role in the guard position and holding your teammates accountable. I mean, I remember seeing pictures with that jersey, and you had that C on your chest where you're the captain, where you have to have that leadership. And we know there's different kinds of leadership. There's vocal leadership, there's leading by example. But in your mind, what was your leadership role with that Trailblazer team?
Well, I mean, that team was pretty special. It had everybody that was pretty good in regards to just being disciplined and wanted to have excellence a part of that team. And so, yeah, me and I think early on, me and Jerome were the captains, two small school guys, and we took a lot of pride in that. And just, I would say early on, we were more because we were the younger ones. We did it more by just example, showing up the practice every day early, making sure we put in hard work and making sure we played at a level in practice to try to get everybody playing at that same level. I think at times we both were vocal and as needed, but Clyde and Buck and Duck, because of, again, as we got to know each other, as we continue to build that, everybody had a voice. Everybody had a voice, and the ability to hold each other accountable is very important. From guys do it playoff time, you couldn't go out, you couldn't do anything. You had to set different standards. What went on, we go on the road, everybody was going to get together, go have dinner, come out. Again, build that important type of camaraderie and have a chance to break bread with each other and share time with each other and talk about your goals among each other. That's so important to continue to talk about that among each other and know what each guy expects from the other guy and helping you achieve that.
Yeah, see, I think those words right there should resonate with people in our industry. But for those who are not so much in the fabric of competitive sports, I think that's something that needs to be echoed and shared, because that's quality content right there. So thank you for sharing that, TP. And I think it's spot on. I think about, your career and watching you from afar as a player and admiring your hard work, knowing your background, and then seeing you compete in the NBA finals against a Michael Jordan led Bulls team. What were those battles like? Take us in the locker room with pre-game adjustments and how you held each other accountable and how you would pick each other up. Because, I mean, everybody's, knows Michael Jordan for the shrug game, where he just starts going off on those threes. But take us in the locker room and talk about the conversations you as players would hold, even in a timeout or in the locker room saying, hey, Buck, I got your back. Or, hey, Duck, we're going to come help you on that double team, so take us through some of those conversations.
Well, I think there's always the game within the game, right?
Yep,
From
100%.
in the game adjustments, from having a strategy going in, and then obviously they made some adjustments and they're having a lot of success. Now, how are we going to tweak it? What are we going to do different? And so I think, and a good thing about, I think, again, Rick Adelman, he was a great coach. He allowed players to have conversations about certain schemes that we implemented going into the game, but felt once the game started, coach, this is not working well. We need to tweak it. We need to switch, or we need to double team the point guard, or hit Michael when he comes off the screen because he's really looking to attack here. So those type of in-game adjustments was something that we always discussed. Walking to the timeout, if me and Duck had a pick and roll situation and didn't turn out well and they ended up got easy points, me and Duck would talk about, hey, what happened there? Well, you didn't hear my voice. You didn't hear the call of the instructions to us try to execute the pick and roll coverage that we needed. We'd go into the huddle and Rick would say his thing and say, okay, what do you guys got? What do you guys see? And then we would say, coach, that last pick and roll, that middle pick and roll, we may need to flatten it, or we may need to trap that the next 2 or 3 times and see if we get a better results, because they seem to kind of got us on that. And so those type of back and forth, I think, between player, coach, and coach, coach among coaches, but player versus player, talking through those situations that happen on the floor are so critical in regards to making adjustments that you need to make to be able to, give yourself a chance to win games. Obviously, at the end of those games, and try to win series was so important.
Yeah, and see, I love this conversation we're having right now, because I think there's a difference between listening and active listening. And listening is a skill. And when you're able to listen to your floor leaders and have that trust, knowing that they are in the heat of battle, and as a coach to be able to listen and incorporate what they're saying and help communicate that throughout the team is a valuable skill in our craft. And I wish more coaches did a better job of listening to their athletes and entrust them and empower them on the floor and say, hey, this is what we're going to do to get them out of rhythm, to put them in a less comfortable situation, to take a lower percentage shot so we can rebound, outlet, and go.
I think every great coach that I've been coached by, and I've been blessed to be coached by some great coaches, they've all allowed, and I think it's important, they all allow players to have a voice. And I think that's so important, because you have to understand, and some of my coaches didn't play in the league at the level, at the NBA, but they played, but not at that level. And so it's important that you understand that the players are on the floor and they're trying their best to execute a scheme that you and the coaching staff, or you guys all may have come up with, but it hasn't pulled itself together, right? We haven't been able to execute it to that level. And so you have to be able to just make adjustments and pivot to try to make some adjustments and try to get to a certain position where you feel now it's going to give us a better chance to be successful and a better chance to try to, eliminate that team execution of that particular play with the success they were having.
You got it. Ladies and gentlemen, again, this is TP, Terry Porter, 17-year NBA player, 2-time All-Star, fabulous coach, fabulous person. Just thrilled to have him. TP, you just mentioned that you were able to play for some great coaches. I'm going to go down this list and then went kind of like a rapid fire. Give me a couple words that describe this coach that I mentioned. Pat Riley.
Disciplined, determined.
Oh, well done. You already mentioned Rick Adelman. Give me a couple words.
Loved his players and gave them freedom to execute their skills.
Vital for important. Jack Ramsey.
Oh man, Jack. Jack was I would say he's kind of like Pat Riley. He's very disciplined, and he trusted his players.
Yeah, I like that. How about Coach Pop, Greg Popovich, when you was with the
Coach
Spurs?
Pop. I would say Coach was God. It's hard to describe Coach Pop because he cared so much about the overall makeup of a player, not just of him as a basketball player. So I would say he was very caring about your life and talked a lot about other things outside of basketball. He cared about you as a human being and how you conducted yourself and how you went about raising your family.
Yeah, see, I've heard great stories from some of his players and guys on his staff, and they talk about how he's going to ride you hard in practice, but yet go have a nice dinner, sip a glass of wine, and really get to know the individual. So I love hearing you say that. How about Flip Saunders?
Flip was an offensive mind genius. I mean, oh my God, he just
Yes, he was.
Man, his offensive skill set and how he thought about offense was on a whole new level. And again, he falls under that category, a guy that really trusted his players, and his players loved playing him because he allowed them the freedom to be themselves within his structure.
Oh, see, I love that. And you go play for him with the Timberwolves, and you help them get into the playoffs for the first time in franchise history. At that point in your career, what did that mean to you for that group of guys to get into the playoffs for the first time?
Well, again, that whole organization, Kevin McHale and Flip Saunders was kind of the head, I guess the spearhead that kind of got that franchise rolling. Kevin was from Minnesota, and he had played with Flip. Flip played at the U in Minnesota, so they had
the Gophers,
a close bond together. And what they wanted to try to do is obviously with Kevin McHale, try to build a Celtic type of pedigree, bring a championship mindset to the organization. And he started getting veterans, myself, Sam Mitchell, and obviously they drafted Kevin Garnett, Stephon Marbury, had Tom Gugliotta. So they start bringing in pieces that were so important that they feel to kind of get that franchise going off the right track. And I think the veteran leadership, Sam had played at Indiana, been a part of Larry Brown's system, really successful playoff teams, obviously part of the Trailblazers. So, and so I think what he brought was the experience and the youth together and try to help those guys and teach those guys what it's like to, build something. And so for that standpoint, it was great to be able to fight through all that first year of adversity, not making the playoffs, and then bounce back the next year and, become a playoff team for those next 2 years that I was there.
Yeah, and see, that's just trusting the process and believing in the culture and getting buy-in from everybody. But I like how you said that. They brought in veteran leadership to help teach these younger guys how to be pros. Let's talk about that passing of the torch, because it's so vital for, whether it's generation to generation, but you need great leaders in that locker room and on that bench that's going to hold these guys accountable and bring their level up.
No question, Scott. I think it's more important now because the kids are coming in the league now. They're so much more younger than they were when I was coming. I mean, kids back then when I came in the league, they were 3 or 4 years, spent in college. Now it's 1 or 2, or even now the kids go overseas for a year and then they come back. And so you look at the makeup of these teams, and the teams that are successful, they have experience. They may have infusion some youth, but they have a lot of experience. And that's so important in regards to just the day-to-day of how to conduct yourselves, how to hang yourself when you go in the community, how you be with the sponsors, and more importantly, how you teach these kids and mentor these kids to have careers. These kids, everybody dreams of getting there, But once you get there, now you got to have a plan of how you're going to stay there, how you're going to get to the point where you have a financial contract that's going to take care of you and your family, and then provide, you a great legacy to go on and try to compete for a championship. And obviously all the accolades, the individual accolades that come along with that. So you got to have those experienced veterans on that roster to teach those young guys. They had a bad game. Okay, we got to learn how to shake it off. We got a game tomorrow. Practice wasn't good. I mean, all those little things that's so important to have players. Again, we talked about the players versus players, to be there for that experience. Yes, coaches can do it, but it's nothing like hearing it from a teammate on how to conduct yourself and how to play and how to do things that's so important for you to have a career. And it's the hard thing that once you become a professional athlete, it is now a career. It's not playing college sports anymore. It's
a
now
business.
your career. And what do you want out of your career, and how are you going to go about trying to have that success that you want for yourself and your family and everybody who's helped you along the way?
Yeah, amen. Amen. TP, this is great stuff. Who was that mentor for you when you first came in as the 24th pick with the Trailblazers? Who kind of took you under their wing and taught you how to be a pro and how to ice and, manage your body and, eat right and take care of yourself? Who was that guy to Terry Porter when you came into the league?
Well, I'm gonna throw a name at and see if your viewers and see if you remember a guy by the name of Darnell Ballantyne.
Oh my goodness!
He
Wow.
He was my vet. He was my vet. He played the position, and I watched him. And if people don't know, go watch. He had the biggest thighs on the planet. His thighs were size like 36. They were amazing. And I think he played at Kansas State. I think he played at. But again, he just went about his career the right way. He took care of his body. He ate right. He got a lot of rest. He competed really hard. He did extra running. He just talked a lot about, how to be successful. And then he left, and I was, blessed to be around a lot of guys then who just kind of gradually talked about the importance of the NBA lifestyle and the importance of making sure you take care of your body and you eat right and get a lot of rest. And so crazy back then, Scott, weight training wasn't even a big factor back then. Right. Early on. It was just, getting rest and making sure you eat right and, doing all the right things and getting shots up and working on your craft. Those are the things that guys always talked about, trying to get into the gym and work on their shots and work on things they need to work on.
Right. And see, that rest and recovery is such a valuable piece right now, because you see all these guys going, like we talked, half hour ago, AAU tournament to AAU tournament, but yet they're not being taught the game. They're not getting taught angles. They're not being able to, ball mastery and, post entry passing and footwork and those things that are so needed. And that's why you see so many player development coaches on these staffs now, because players may be bigger, faster, stronger, more athletic without a doubt, but they really don't know or understand the game because they've only played one and done year in college. So they don't have that experience and go from a 30 game schedule to an 82, game regular season schedule. That's a lot of wear and tear on that body.
Yeah, I think, sometimes if you want to just look at European players and American players, I think it's a huge factor for them. They come over here and they have a better feel for the game. They have some of the things you talk about, the angles, because they spend more time with those type of basic drills every day, shooting, yep, dribbling, passing.
Yep.
And like you said, there's no question that today's NBA players are bigger, stronger, faster than we were. The skill stuff, when you talk about, because of the skill development stuff that's around now, that part, I think, because they've kind of skipped some of the steps early on in their lives. AAU doesn't teach a lot about drills. They just roll the ball out and play. There may be some skill development, but not a lot every day. And when you have guys that have multiple states and they can't even get together and practice, they don't normally get together to when it comes tournament time. And so it's a challenge for coaches to try to get them all on the same pages. But that part of the game is where the European guys have the youth movement, and the grassroots over there is a little bit further along than ours in regards to teaching all the basic fundamentals and the basketball IQ and the flow of the game and the importance of the game.
That's Bible right there, because
Mhm.
I coached 15 years in FIBA and had won championships, and I saw the youth development and that club system. And you get those young guys that go through that club system and are, competing against pros at age 14, 15,
Mhm.
16. And so, I mean, yes, they spend the time on the grassroots development, and they come in so skilled with their craft. So love hearing you say that too, TP. We've got 5 or 6 minutes here, just having such a wonderful conversation. Who were some guys, when you were coming into the league, that you marked your calendar for and that you could not wait to compete against? Because I mean, I remember you having 25 points and 19 assists versus the Utah Jazz. Was competing against a John Stockton someone that really got you amped up because you're like, hey, I know I got to bring it tonight?
Well, yeah. Well, back then, man, every night was a night you had to bring it. But I mean, all the elite players, the players when I got in that was all pro, all stars. I look forward to those matchups. The Magic Johnsons in the world. Obviously, you mentioned John Stockton, Kevin Johnson, Tim Hardaway, those guys on the West Coast. And then you go back to the East Coast. Isaiah, you talked about his ability. You talk about Mark Price. So many
Man.
elite point guards that I just look forward to the challenge. I look forward to the challenge and knew I had to be on my best game that night in order for our team to have a chance and an opportunity to win. And I think anybody who ever played this game always wanted to play against the best and wanted to challenge themselves and see how they took that pressure cooker situation one on one against that player. And it's how you get a name for yourself, how you get a rep for yourself, and how you get respect from your other peers, your ability to go out and guard those guys and compete and take on that challenge.
Yeah, as Coach Bill Belichick is kind of famous for it, no days off, right?
Yeah, there you go.
Oh my goodness. TP, this has been so fun. Um, I think about, I mean, we mentioned all these great coaches, Pat Riley, Rick Adelman, Jack Ramsey, Greg Popovich, and here you are, in that coaching role. What are some of the things that, Terry Porter in today's age compared to a Terry Porter at age 24, 25, what would be your biggest advice to yourself from age now to age 24?
Oh man.
I know that's deep. That's loaded. That's like an onion. You got to
Yeah,
peel that
I think
onion.
I think no, I think if I was looking back, I would say that I think the biggest challenge always is watching more film, getting the guys together. I think the journey that we had was a special journey. I think I be appreciative of what you were able to achieve,
Mm.
and how you got there, and the many people that helped you get there. But no, I don't really have many regrets. I thought the way I went about preparing myself, I thought was really good. I wasn't a guy that was out late night, and so I was a guy that really paid attention to what was important for me to make me successful, and for me to put my team in the best position to help us be successful, and cared about the winning and cared about my teammates, and so I think that. I think from a skill set standpoint, I probably would have started shooting the three ball a little bit earlier. I
There
would
you
have shot
go.
more of those. That's the one thing I would have done better. Just tried to make an adjustment. But again, back then, that was not something that was encouraged from a game style standpoint like it is today. It's so much of a important part of the game, the overall offensive mind of the game today. It wasn't back then. And you have certain plays, certain things you like to go play over again. I mean, obviously those two NBA finals, I'd like to go back and play those over again. And even the series in between those two NBA finals appearances, we lost to the Lakers in 90, I think it was 91. I think it was 91. We lost to them when we had the best record in the league. And we thought that was our opportunity to really get a championship for our organization and for our state and for our fan base. And we lost that in game 6 to the Lakers. That's when Magic threw the ball down the court. That famous scene that you may see sometimes in their commercials and in their advertisement. But no, No, those are the things that you kind of look back on. You think, okay, if you could go back and not so much change, but just talk about them, I think that would be the things that I would really try to focus on.
Wow, you know what? I sit there and I I'm looking into your eyes and hear that passion and I see that purpose and what this game means to you. TP, this game needs more people like you to,
Uh,
to continue to empower others, serve others, make them better versions of themselves. I just feel like there's so much knowledge and experience and wisdom that you can pass on. And again, this game needs TP. And I'll tell you what, whatever franchise, club, staff that you're able to be a part of, they're just very blessed and fortunate to have you because I know you have so much to give.
well, thank you, Scott. I appreciate those kind words. I've tried to. I think that I've been blessed to play basketball and be around the game for a long time, and my experiences, both good and bad, have helped me mold me the type of person I am. But more importantly, like anything, it's all about sharing experiences and help other guys and other players and coaches grow from my own mistakes and my own successes, and that's what it's all about.
Yeah, well, hey, one man's candle does not, go out by igniting another candle. And my man, I know you have lit a lot of candles in your life and sharing with people. So,
Thank you.
my man, I can't wait to cross paths with you soon. Nothing but respect. Thank you so much for your time. Stay safe and healthy with your family. Enjoy those experiences. Have some fun on that golf course. But I hope I get to cross paths with you real soon, brother. And thank you so much for sharing this knowledge, wisdom, and just purpose in your life that you've been able to share with us today, brother.
Scott, thank you. Pleasure being with you. Enjoyed it. Really enjoyed spending the time with you.
Oh man, I tell you what, like a kid at Christmas Eve, man. You're so excited. It seemed like this hour went so fast. So we got to do it again soon, brother.
Yeah, it sounds good, man. Sounds good. I'll see you down the road, man. Thanks
You
again. All
got
the
it.
best to
God
you and your
bless.
family. God
Thank
bless.
you. God bless.
All
Ladies
right.
and
Take
gentlemen, once
care.
again, that is 17-year NBA veteran Terry Porter, former head coach of the Bucks and the Suns. Just a wealth of knowledge, but just high character. And every time I get to share time with him, I feel better about myself because I get to learn and grow and evolve with him. So thank you for the empowerment, my man. Stay tuned for another edition of the Coach Scott Field Show with more exciting guests, but big shoes to fill after this one here today. God bless you on your journey. Continue to evolve and grow.
All right. Take care.